Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Exciting announcement for all of my listeners. I've officially opened my exclusive group, the ProjectME Passive Income Posse, to the public. This group is by application only, so we can keep the group high vibe and spend our time, energy, and expertise only helping those of you who truly want massive success and impact. You get live weekly trainings from me, special guest coaches, and direct access to me and my business partner for all of your questions. To learn more and apply, go to projectmewithtiffany.com, click on Work With Me, and select ProjectME Posse. And of course, any questions, feel free to DM me at ProjectME with Tiffany. Welcome to the podcast and posse, ProjectME with Tiffany Carter. I'm your host, Tiffany, and we are going to get you out of your own damn way today. And let's be real, most of the time, the reason we're not getting the things that we want, whether it's people, places, things, money, business, body, whatever it is, it's because we're in our own way. Sometimes we're aware of it, sometimes we're not. I have a feeling most of you know who listen to the show that you know when you're getting in your own way, but sometimes we end up in this rabbit hole and we don't know how to get out, and then we tell ourselves we're stuck or confused or lost long enough that we end up spinning our wheels and staying there. So I brought on an incredible guest. She's a fellow podcaster. She's also a fellow multi-millionaire female entrepreneur, Kareen Walsh. She owns the Revampologist company. She's the CEO. She's also a seven-figure coaching and consulting business. But what she's done that is so beautiful is she's mastered the art of helping executives and entrepreneurs of all levels get out of their own way and focus on their zone of genius. Because when we focus on our zone of genius, you guys, that's where the miracles occur and what you can do to help other people, but also what happens in your own bank account. So often we end up chasing things that we're good at, but we actually don't love them. We might love the praise we get. We might love the accolades, the awards, the cash, the acknowledgement for things we're good at. But that doesn't mean that is our purpose and what we're supposed to be doing in this life. So Kareen and I are going to dish on this today, and I'm so excited to have you here and keeping it real for the people. What's up, girl?
What's up? I'm so excited. Like, as you were talking, I was doing like ninja moves, like block the obstacles, like get ready, get set, and you got me all pumped up. So I'm so excited to talk to your listeners today and see how I can serve.
So for those people who are not familiar with you, let us know. I mean, you don't just end up as a multimillionaire. I mean, I guess you could if you were like a Rockefeller or something. But most people, and I don't think you're one of them, just ended up here. You don't just land here. It is normally, you guys, a complex, hot mess of a journey. So share some of that with us.
Sure. So how I got to building and assisting others and building seven-figure businesses was truly just first the journey of learning myself, how I want to step into this world, how I want to leverage not only what I know and do really well, but stay aligned with truly who I am and my gifting and the expansion of that. When I faced that side of me is when my business started to expand. I had to realize that it was past just my capabilities, and it's really about the empowerment of all the others that need to stand with me in order to have the impact that I want in my business, in my world, whatever that looks like. So the journey that got me there, I mean, I grew up in a entrepreneurial household. which exposed me to how you actually can step out into your own, manage risk a certain way, and really just create the wealth in your life. But I would say that my lessons from that side, so that was my father who's very entrepreneurial, also kept him away from the family. It kept, distance and sense of almost like abandonment as a daughter to that. That I had the extreme opposite with my mother, who raised us in a very traditional way, where it's like, get your education, pushed us in a very powerful way, which is like, whatever you do, put your mind to, make sure that you're adding value in someone else's life, but also figuring out the ways to earn so you never have to rely on someone else in order to have the life you want. So it was a really interesting dynamic growing up. And I was fortunate to have my education paid for through college. And I was by accident accepted into a business school.
Were you not the best student?
I would say that I have more of a creative visual mind, and academics, like to regurgitate information, is not my thing. And I do think that our education system, at least when I was coming up, did not really account for all learning styles. So academically, I would say I was a little bit above average from a scoring standpoint, but it wasn't my forte. I'm a doer. I like to jump in, learn it by doing, and really then assessing what's a fit for me, which actually boasted really well in my career, because I would take concepts that I did learn from other people and the theories and like how it can be done, and I applied them to figure out what actually fits in reality. And that is part of my gifting from a solution standpoint, which is why my consulting company is successful, is that I can look at things in a very dynamic way and break it down in a very simple way to execute against. And so that's why my clients come back to me. But
now, were you always an entrepreneur, like out of the gate,
no.
or were you in corporate America?
Yeah. So I'd say the beginning of my career, my 20s, was all about climbing the corporate ladder. All like, because it was ingrained in me to go get your education, go get the job, climb the corporate ladder, find stability, rely on that check, basically, that someone else. Back then, there was a concept of job security, right, which we don't have anymore. And so that was the climb. So in my 20s, I really maximized my time in other people's companies. And whenever I coach executives in existing companies or people who want to be on an executive track, I always say leverage the system you're in as much as you can, like squeeze that lemon so hard that no juice is left, because that's the lowest risk you'll ever have of managing your career, is in someone else's environment. When you go out on your own, it's so much easier, more demanding, because all the risk is yours. But when you're in someone else's system, you got to learn that system, squeeze it hard, and get everything you can out of it. And the way I show up in that was within 5 years, I went, so from 23 to almost 28, I was able to build a 6-figure income go from entry level to director level every 6 months, had a promotion. Like, I really leveraged the system I was in, because I was in that go-getter mode of making everything happen for me. And I learned a lot. It was a very unique career with this one company. And then I got to that level at the top of what I wanted to climb there. And then I looked at my life and it was shit. Like, it was one of those things where I gave my all to my career. And yes, I was making the money, but I had poor health, like literally was just, so it was just all dysfunctional is the best way. So I used to say also, I'm highly functional in my dysfunction.
Oh my God. Are you guys dying listening to her story? My diehards who know my story, that wow, there's a lot of parallels. Now, first off, I love analogies. Everyone who listens knows that. Like, some of them are weird, but I've got the lemon thing. I'm all about, man, I'll fucking scrape that pulp out of there. I'm like, you guys can't see her. She's like licking the inside of the lemon. And she makes such a great point for those of you guys who are, I know you guys, you're listening with like one AirPod in, sitting at your desk, because I would do the same thing. or you're not eating lunch with anybody and you're in your car eating and listening to a podcast, I would also do that. But you're at an environment and you're kind of resentful of being where you're at, and you know you're not happy there, whether you're making good money or not. But like she said, leverage where you're at and learn what you can. Even if you're like, well, Tiffany, I want to start, and Kareen, I want to start a jewelry business and I'm working for a medical company. Let me tell you something. Marketing is marketing is marketing. Sales is sales is sales. Interpersonal dynamics, right? Yeah. Those are all crossover on all areas. So you don't have to say the company if you're not comfortable, but what industry were you in corporate America?
Yeah, so it was super cool. I mean, at the time I had done a risky move after college. I just moved to California. So I went to school in DC. I've bounced across the US 13 times. I am a crazy person. I should have owned a moving company. Like that's how many times I moved. But back then I just packed 2 bags, moved to California because I knew that if I grew up in New York. So if I came back to New York after college, I would have never left. I would, just because I knew the fulfillment it would have brought me, and I wanted to test myself. And boy, did I. So I was in the Bay Area at the time, and it was a tech software company in the financial services market. And they've since sold. It's still active and out there. But the climb there was very unique. And it was more of like the subsidiaries of building a business within a business. So it was really like what you would call a startup today. Back then was like a channel of business under an umbrella of another business. So I had startup experience in my 20s back then. I'm now mid 40s, where it gave me so much exposure. And literally when I say I squeezed that lemon and was able to eventually, within 2 years of being with the company, the CTO called me and actually had me go into the mergers and acquisitions part of the business. And so
that's major, you guys. For you guys who aren't familiar, like our stories are really weirdly similar.
I know, that's why I love you, girl.
I was handpicked to do mergers and acquisitions. Those are like the top, most sophisticated salespeople because there's the most money on the line. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and so I had to do the operational alignment post-sale. So I was on the other side of your job, and the pain in the ass work that is.
Oh, it's awful. That's what almost killed me. The due diligence.
Yes,
and die.
Yeah. And so what had happened was someone had been responsible for supposedly aligning operations that had been in place from like August to October. And then I got the call from the CTO saying, listen, they're not telling me what I need to know so that we can make the decisions we need to make about this one business that had been acquired. And I was like, well, why the hell do you need me? Like, I'm over here running my own department. I had managed all these virtual processes for a brand new business for the, line of the company. I was sitting in Manhattan at the time because I decided to relocate back to Manhattan because I wanted the New York life. And working West Coast hours, girl. I was working from 11 to 7. I had like the cush life that I had been finally starting to build after all that hard work. And now you want me to what? Go to Denver? And help take over this company, the operations of this company. So a little bit of me was like a bi-coastal bitch at the time. Excuse my French. I didn't even ask you if I could.
We love swearing on ProjectME.
I just want to make sure. Where I was like, what the hell? I didn't even know where Colorado was. Honestly, I was such a bi-coastal person.
That's such a New Yorker thing to say.
Totally.
That was amazing.
I know I've lived in Colorado a few times now. I love the state. But point is that it was an opportunity for me to squeeze that lemon, to show up for this company that they were asking me to shine in an area that I didn't really even know how best to do it, but I was asked to go put myself in the middle of it. And it ended up being a relocation then to Denver, taking over that company, streamlining them for the best and next offering of the business. 6 months into it, president and CEO changed for the company. So they were going to shut down that office. So that I had to shut it all down and move everything back to San Francisco. It was a lot. It was a lot for that time of my career, but I learned so much that I leverage now full force going forward. But
so when you went to transition from employee to entrepreneur, did you go cold turkey, or did you leverage some of your long-standing built relationships to help you fund your new business?
Yeah. So I would say I've always leveraged relationships, but I ended up resigning from the position. I ended up back in San Francisco taking another company, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I looked around, my life wasn't where I wanted it to be. I didn't want to live in San Francisco at the time. I enjoyed Colorado. So I was like, well, I'm just going to move to Colorado, back to Denver. I bought a house while I was still employed. That was smart because you need that for the loans. and then I managed to buy a place that even if I made half, this is the decision I made because I think it's worth it for your listeners to kind of do this type of assessment. When you're looking at a big shift, so I knew that I didn't want to continue in this specific career and I wanted to build a life somewhere else. I have certainty in self. That was something I had built quite young in my age, to know that whatever arena I go into, I will make something happen for myself. So how I planned for it, though, from a risk management standpoint, was even if I made half the income that I was previously, because I had hit that six figures, I was living a nice cush life on someone else's dime. And I realized that even if I made half that salary, that I could still sustain a lifestyle that made sense. And at that time, now Denver is way more expensive now to live than it was at that time, I could stretch my dollar. I ended up moving, bought the house, moved, and I bought the house in a way that if I made half, I still would have the funds to apply for that life. And started to decide to look for work. When I looked for work, I didn't want to be an employee anymore. So I started with self-employment, selling myself into project work to make the same income. So I literally moved to Colorado, continued to make my six figures because as a contractor, it was twice the rate, twice the amount that I was as a full-time employee. I had to cover my own expenses, taxes, etc. But I was in my early or late 20s. So I was like, I'm healthy. Insurance, I just need emergency insurance. I had to cut some corners in that regard. But I made the same and then exponentially started to squeeze that lemon on the consulting side of things. And I just opened myself.
Did you start, because really you went from employee to entrepreneur in the same profession, right? Which at least you made, I call that my straddling method. So
Yes.
You leveraged that, but ultimately that really doing that job was not lighting you up whatsoever.
Right. Yeah.
So at what point were you like, okay, I did this, I'm feeling this entrepreneur thing. Now I need to really go after what my true calling and purpose is.
Yeah. So I would say I didn't fall into my true calling and purpose until I want to say 7 years ago. And so there's a period of time. What happened in my 30s was an exploration of me. So I love that your work is all about ProjectME, because what I had to do was actually put on pause the career grabbing so that I could integrate who's Kareen in a relationship, who's Kareen in health management, and all the other aspects of my life. So for about 5 years, I started to leverage just earning by selling my time at a nice rate that would give me time freedom to invest in other areas of my life. And that was the beginning of my 30s. And the focus there, I wasn't thinking like an entrepreneur. I was thinking, get enough income to be able to invest in the areas of my life that I wanted to expand. And that's when I would go get certifications. That's when I became a certified coach. That's when I just was developing me to then say, am I sitting on a business that I could scale? And I rode that wave for a while before realizing that, okay, I have taken care of me enough. I healed certain wounds where I can show up in an environment that allow me to shine in a way that is impactful to others, that it gave me the desire to step back into leadership, step back into business building, and then launch, what I'm running now.
There are so many people listening right now who have a version of this story. It might not look the same, but they have a version where whether you guys are side hustling or you have made that step on your own and you are now your own brand. Now, as a consultant, my other company is in you're doing digital marketing, business consulting, and pharmaceuticals, medical, and supplements. So that other company, I wear like a consultant hat. That is very different from a coach hat.
Yes.
So and I know you guys can relate to this, when you go to promote and share with the people what you do as a coach, whether it's a business coach, mindset coach, whether you're a content creator, you're a writer, you're a Reiki healer, whatever the hell it is, there's something very, very different about it. Did you experience that as well?
Yeah, for sure. Because consultants are hired for the doing and coaches are hired to show you how. So it's just a different role. Like either you want me to come in there and do it for you, show you how to do it and me actually implementing it, or coach you on how to go and lead that and do it. And that's why I started to call myself, honestly, Tiffany, I started to call myself a growth strategist, because what I find the gifting that I bring to the table is really getting clarity on the strategy you need to execute before you even start executing. Because a lot of the times we step into execution because we think that's what we should be doing. But then because I've built all these companies and helped other companies grow without a strategy, it's thoughtless work, honestly. Like
it's a jobby, as I say. It's an expensive hobby.
And yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And so I'd say that like I had to take it up a notch to really then find my impact and synergy between the coach in me and the consultant in me, and then also how I build my team, in order to present the options to my clients to then say, how would you like to work together? Because it's almost like a menu, right? Like it's like, would you want option A or B? Like, what does it look like? I don't know how to turn me off anymore. Like that was the biggest piece I had to overcome, where I felt like one side of me had to lie dormant in order for the other side to shine. And that's freaking exhausting, So I had to integrate all of me into my business and then find the ways to communicate properly to the ideal client that I'm trying to attract in order to offer them what's best in the scenario and the challenges they're bringing to me.
There's so many women that they know they can help their people. They know they have an idea of who their ideal client is. They know what they can help their people with. They do believe in that part. Okay. There might be a lot of other healing stuff to do, but then they write social media posts. They're on LinkedIn. They're on Twitter. They do Facebook Lives. They go to networking events, and maybe they get 1 or 2 sales calls booked with potential clients. And then both of those people say, I can't afford it, or now's not a good time. How did you attract your ideal client to where it didn't feel like you were chasing people down?
So I'll say this, majority of my business is built on the relationships I have. And I have an awesome referral network that to me is more valuable than any Facebook ad or any spend I do on social platforms. It's 2 different buying methods. And you're a master of sales, Tiffany, right? So you understand what it means, especially for high ticket price items, what trust they have to have in you in order to close, at that ticket price. So if I'm selling 6 figures worth of consultancy for some of my clients, that takes several meetings face to face. It has nothing to do with, I have to have social proof. Yes. But my ad spend and all that stuff didn't bring that to me. Right. So what the advice I want to give your listener to truly help them navigate this conundrum of like, where should they be spending their time? There's a lot in how you break down, and I don't know if you teach time blocking in your ProjectME methods, but if you are aware of a time blocking methods, which is really dedicating the time not only to sell your business, but it's building your business and servicing your business, right? There are different categories you have to bake time into. And if you're a solopreneur, if you're the only one doing everything, you have to be so selective as to where you're spending your time and release yourself of the pressure of having to do it all, because you will fail. You will fail and you'll feel miserable and you'll be out of alignment. I'm not a master marketer. Do I know how to market and sell what I know best? Sure. But I'm not a master at it. So if I don't go and delegate it to someone else and get them in their zone of genius servicing my needs so that I can stay in mine, then I'm mismanaging my time because I'm trying to do all the things and be on all the platforms when I really should be building and servicing my business. So really, you have to look at the role you want to play in your business. And then you have to ask the question of who do I need? Who do I need to fill in the gap? It's the number one thing as women. We have this weird fear of asking for help and asking for others to step into our lives with the greatness that they have and the service that they're amazing with, or even to assist you. My career, as well as my business, was built on me going directly to my network and asking and say, who do you know that could use a service like mine, or might be looking for a coach like me? And it's literally my network that then, oh, Kareen, I love you because we have that relationship. Of course, I'll connect you, right? We're neglecting, I think, that side of true business building. That really is the foundation of how most businesses are built.
Like going back, by the way, like centuries.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's still, like, it's foundational, right?
So when you keep referencing your network, just so we can give clarity to everyone, what do you mean specifically? Because that looks differently for everyone. Like, are you hitting up the Chamber of Commerce? I doubt it.
No. No. So because I told you I bounced around the country a few times, right? So, but I'm a highly relational person. Like I literally have clients, especially like coaching clients that I maybe worked with previously in a past career life that still we've kept tabs on each other. They see what I'm doing now and they're about to launch their own business. They're like, hey, can you come and can you be my coach and how I launch my business now? And I go, and because we have this awesome relationship, I've actually gone and stayed in their homes while we strategize on what's going on. And like, it's this awesome synergy of a relationship. Like it's that kind of building. So my network is built on me showing up in rooms, making connections. People I've worked with, literally have worked with and seen me in action, understand the impact, and literally say the words, you need Kareen, as a referral. Like that's literally the conversation. They're like, oh, I hear your problem. You need Kareen. And that is and it's the referral that has built my business. I mean, it's beautiful.
See you guys but here's the catch. I always tell you guys what the catch is. The catch is you have to open your mouth and let people know, whether it's your people at the gym, whether it's your people at your church, whether it's, the people, your local coffee shop, I don't care. You have to let your people know very specifically and clearly, not some drawn out thing, what problems you solve, what you help people with, and who do you help? Because what Kareen has done is she's repeated that so many times. Now she's the first person who comes to mind for that specific problem. If Kareen sat there and you gave a long laundry list, like, I help build businesses from the start. I help women get out of their own way. I help people transition from employee to entrepreneur. And she gave some long list, which by the way, she does help people with all those things. Right. But if she gave that long list, not one of those things would stick out in someone's mind. So what is it? I know you haven't memorized because I have mine memorized because we say it so much. What's your line? What's your one thing that you say?
The problem I see is that most people spend way too much time and money on the wrong services or even in the implementation of the doing without having a strategy of what they're going after first. So in the work that I love to do is literally take it up a notch, get that clarity of what it is you're trying to go after, help you build that strategy to do it. And then we can figure out the how. The how can always be figured out. So many people are masters at doing. But truly, I love to make sure you're hitting it from the top down, strategy-wise, and then execution becomes so much easier.
So the key word there is, and it's I know it's going to end up working on me, because she was so clear with that. the key word I hear is strategy, strategist, right? Have a strategy, a growth strategy. So anytime I'm talking to any of my corporate clients or my other business or any of my, current clients here at ProjectME, and I hear, oh, my husband is starting this and he doesn't know how to do it and he needs a strategy. A lot of people say that. I need some kind of strategy. Who do you think's going to pop in my head now? You guys see how that works, right? It's that clear. I want to touch on this because it's so important. What in the hell is the problem with so many of us women? And I used to be this way too, you guys. I had no self-worth, but you wouldn't have known that from the outside unless you were extremely perceptive. Asking for help and also asking your network. Like you said, everyone who's listening has at least 3 people you can think of that you could say your statement to, right? I mean, Kareen just said she even stayed in this person's house, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think it is paralyzing for so many people, men and women, to say what I do for a fucking living and who I serve and what I help people with? Why?
Yeah, well, I think it does align with the self-worth. And I love how you also talk about it's a direct line to your net worth, right? It's a fear of rejection. So if I think about the common fears that stop people, right? Fear of rejection. There's also a fear of boasting, like being able to say, I'm a fucking badass. And so just so you know, I'm badass at this. Like no one shows up in life. It's very rare that you find someone showing up in life owning all of it. And that's the work I constantly am doing, is to own it. If you're in it, you better freaking own it, because you're the only one that represents the work you do, the business you have. I learned from Lisa Nichols, you got to be the Pied Piper of your business always. And in the work I do too, it's like your business is 100% a reflection of how you lead it. So if you're not leading by example of what it means to draw your client base in, nobody who ever works for you is ever going to learn how to do that on your behalf also. And so the fears that are common are, I'm not good enough. Why would they want to work with me? It's just the just story. I just do this. Oh, but I'm not this person. It's the comparison model that makes you feel like you're smaller than everyone else. Like the number one thing people tell me is like, you're so intimidating when I meet you, do all these things. I was like, well, intimidation is a reflection on your own self-worth.
Totally, because I don't find you intimidating at all. I want to go grab a dirty martini with you.
That's right.
Immediately.
Right.
Hang out. At 11:43 a.m. Pacific time.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly right. Like it's something where but because you and I have both done the work to discover who we are and how we stand, knowing that we're on the other side of those limited beliefs, that's really what stops us from asking. There's the other part of it that society also trained us to not speak unless spoken to. Did you ever grow up with that lesson?
Oh, girl.
That one fucking kills me.
Especially as women, right?
100%, because that was a training of etiquette and how women are meant to behave. And if you knew me as a child, I was almost like mute unless you asked me to speak or give my opinion because of that training. And I had all the ideas going on in my head. I totally saw how things would lay out. And then the way I showed up in life was to serve others, and their agenda was always greater than my own because I didn't feel like I was worth it. And so when we're taught to shut our mouths, then how hard is it to open them up? So you have to give yourself permission to break through. If you're having this obstacle, number one, give yourself permission to fumble. You're going to mess up. You're going to say the wrong thing. You're going to trip up on your own words. Like even when I just gave you my short little pitch, that's one version of me that I know could be better. Of course, I could judge myself on it, but it hit home, right? Like you guys got what I'm doing. You heard it, right? But the critic in me could definitely have a voice on one shoulder. I fling it a lot. I'm always like, not today, critic. And I fling it off my shoulder.
I love that. That's a really good one, you guys. Like instead of pushing it away, because that actually can take a lot of our physical energy and mental energy. Yep. You know how you flick like something, like flick it, fling it, just fling it away. Like have that image in your head when one of those thoughts comes up. That's freaking golden.
Yeah, I use that one a lot because because I was raised with a lot of self-doubt and lack of self-worth and had to learn the way I want to believe about myself. That one thing of not today, literally when that voice starts to creep up on me, I'm always like, not today, shut it down. Like I do this and I do the flick if you need, because your body needs to feel it too. So you're not carrying it around. Sometimes I'll clap just to create that sound to change my state, and not today, to stay forward. But if you are the one listening to this and you're feeling stuck in sharing your message, find an accountability partner, someone you trust that loves you, that knows they see your greatness that you haven't even seen yet, and go practice with them. Just practice getting it out of your mouth. I used to have to practice in a whisper, and then I'd practice a little louder, and then I'd go share it with people who I know love me, that aren't judging me, and that's a selective group, right? So be selective. On
like two people.
Even if you want to message me after listening to the show and you want to share it with me, send me an audio message on Instagram.
Oh my God.
I would love to hear it.
Yeah, you know what? I'm giving you guys an assignment right now. Because I'd like to think at this point you can see, I'm safe. And I think you can see from Kareen, like she's safe and I can vouch for her that I know she will write you back. She's not going to ghost your ass. So why don't you do it with both of us? So she's at Kareen, KareenZ, right? There's a Z in there.
Yep.
The Walsh, WALSH. And, I'm at ProjectME with Tiffany. If you're driving or multitasking, just leave me that audio of what you do, and then I will DM you back so you have her handle, because I know that might not be easy to remember, but it's at Kareen, KareenZ, Walsh, WALSH. What a great assignment. And I don't care if you have to some of you guys send me 5-minute things because it only allows you to record up to 1 minute. That's at a time. That's okay.
Yeah, it's a start.
We can't make you do that. That's a start. And you know what I had to do? I don't know if you had to do this. 5 years into owning my first business, I hired a business coach, like a high level coach, a lot of fucking money, more than I charge currently. Right. Yeah, I probably hired you, a version of you, a male doctor version of you, like 73 now.
Well, now there's some kick-ass females that do it. But
he felt right, because back then, you guys, there was definitely no. We would go. There weren't called masterminds; they're called executive retreats. It'd be like the president of Pfizer. I was the only female, but it really helped me get over myself, because talk about intimidating. The kind of people were there, the whole white old male culture.
Totally.
So that was by design, but I had to hire someone, and I still do to this day. I hire multiple people. I have a fitness trainer for the same reason.
Yep.
Keep me accountable and make me practice, because if I'm left to my own devices, it's a shit show.
So right.
Do you still hire people to help keep you accountable?
100%. I have 3 different accountability calls a week for different things that I'm trying to achieve in my life and my business. I also run accountability groups based on the work that we've done together as a coach. I feel like you have to have a continuum after you've done some of the more focused immersion work, as I call it. There's the ongoing ripple effect that I love to have with my clients. So accountability is number one. And the best way to show up for it is to find, even in your own network, a partner. Find the coach that works best with you and your style and what you're trying to achieve, for sure. But it's something, accountability, the only way it works is if you're clear on what you're trying to achieve. So right now, Tiffany gave you a challenge of putting together your pitch and sharing it with us. So how do you hold yourself accountable to do it? you have to select a by when date. So if I challenge you to say by March 1st, I'll just give you some time because I'm not sure when we go live here, but the let's just say pick a date by
That's
when.
That's kind of messed up divine timing that you picked March 1st. You'll see. I'm not going to even tell you.
Oh my gosh. Awesome. So let's say March 1st. So I could stick with that date, Tiffany. The by when is when you want to achieve the goal. Now, what are the top 3 actions you need to do to achieve that? Number 1, first draft of what your pitch is. Number 2, practice it 5 times with someone and refine it. Number 3, go do it live on an audio voice memo recording. Listen to yourself a few times, keep refining it so that by the March 1st date or whenever, by then, that means you can have it happen way before. But by March 1st is the last date for you to do it. You're now holding yourself accountable to a plan to execute. And I do this with everything in my business. What I just shared with you is how I do my action planning against my goals. The thing is that you do not clear those tasks unless they're actually done. And for each task underneath, put a by when date that is prior to that end goal date. Then show it to your accountability partner or show it to us. Snap a picture of it.
It doesn't
tag
have
us
to
on
be.
Insta. Yeah. Just tag us on it and we'll hold you accountable.
You know what I know really helps, especially we both have a mutual friend in common who she's doing a lot of stuff like with her health and that kind of a thing, but she's not like trying to be public about it, but she's held herself accountable by letting me know and several other people in her life know what she's doing. And she has her own ways of keeping herself accountable. And you know what the gift is when you do that? Byproduct of her focusing more on her health and this like cool thing she's doing. Girl, I can see my abs now.
Right. And
we're stepping up into our... And I didn't really do shit. And I was like, because now it's like you actually help someone else get more on point with their stuff.
Yeah.
When you do that. Now, I do have a lot of extreme introverts, empaths, intuitives who are followers and listeners. Okay, cool.
I love you people.
They're listening to like you and me. They know I'm an INFJ. I'm an introvert. Just a highly socialized one. They're listening to see it. They wouldn't think that.
No. It's training.
Now, I figured you likely were just by some of the things you were saying. So she's highly socialized and trained. So a lot of introverts or more shy people listening are like, I don't have this like expansive network that Kareen's talking about. Like, in fact, I have 2 friends. Great. So what do you suggest they do with that?
Squeeze the lemon, my friends. Those 2 friends might know 4 other people, might know 10 other people. You do not know unless you ask. Mm-hmm. So squeeze the lemon is going to be the theme of what we talk about. Like those, don't limit your beliefs. Like you're creating an excuse right now. So this is real talk. If you're telling, if you start something with, but I only, you are limiting the possibility as opposed to saying, of course I have friends in my network that are going to help me build my business. They freaking love me. Of course, as an introvert, I can build a 7-figure business because I have the ways to connect and make things happen that others don't. You have to start changing the language within yourself to stop going from, but I only to, of course, and go leverage whatever it is that's in front of you. And when you do it in an authentic, aligned way, I'm not asking you to be somebody you're not. I'm just asking you to dial up who you are. And that person...
P.S. You guys, I know someone who has a 7-figure business all based on teaching other introverts how to start a business. Like she's made her own and she's awkward as fuck. I've had her on the show. And I mean that with love.
I love it. Yeah.
And she is not like you and me. She's not a highly socialized, highly trained communicator. She's awkward and she owns it. And so much so she's made it part of her brand. And so she goes to other introvert. There's a ton of, believe it or not, introvert Facebook groups. There's introvert is a major hashtag on Instagram. So same as if you're an empath, whatever your jam is, you can also network online with people, right?
So a technique I want to give empaths. So introverts, you like texting more than talking, right? So leverage the tools that you love to communicate on that give you the space to respond when you need to respond. It's like the training of doing it verbally that's generally where there's some difficulty from what extroverted attention requires, right? So use the tools that make sense. So if it's a poignant, clear email that or a text message to folks before audio, great. You need to practice on audio because your clients need to hear your voice as to what you're actually after. Empaths, what I would love, because I'm an empath also. So I would, you have to learn how to clear your energy every single day to allow for your true energy to show up in all that you're doing. We can get drained and weighed down if we're not learning how to clear our energy on what we choose to give out and what we choose to receive. So if you don't have a technique around that, I would definitely encourage you to find that. You could also reach out to me and I can share you some of the techniques I use. But it's really important as well. Empaths generally, if you don't have these practices in place, Tiffany, we fall into overwhelm really fast, almost like on the daily, because we haven't figured out the practice of letting go. Empaths embody what's going on with our clients or in any interaction we have. And so our spiritual management or our energy management matters. It's really important to think about that too as you're going out into the world.
And this is why, she shared with you, like in her 30s, she did the ProjectME way, right?
Yes.
She put the focus back on herself, invested in her personal development, did courses, she got certifications, took care of her health because
got married.
Got married. Because you know this about yourself, you're able to, when she was ready to really ignite her business, it took off a lot faster because this work was done and with more ease. It's not easy, but with more ease than it would have been otherwise. You have a freebie for the people that's really, really cool. What is it?
So I believe, and what my biggest lesson when I wrote my last book, Lead with Value, I was trying to get to the core of the success that I've had as an executive coach and like leading and helping run these businesses. And I came down to the fact that I had to understand what my core values were, in order to put myself in the systems that are aligned with my core values. Because whenever I found discomfort, misalignment, frustration, the wrong clients, it's because our values weren't aligned. So I have an exercise that helps you determine your 3 core values, because when you lean into them, my 3 core values are love, creativity, and integrity. And I bring that into everything I do. Like I literally say, I love my clients because I do. And in the creativity, it's my dynamic mind on how I solve problems. And integrity is all about how I follow through. And those are my top 3 core values. So every decision I make now has to align with them in order for me to stand in alignment as I run my business. So I wanted to gift that to your listeners. I have this exercise. It's KareenWalsh.com/values exercise, so that you can quickly identify for yourself what are your top 3 core values, because you can also integrate those values into your pitch. You can integrate those values into how you connect, have someone else do the exercise and tell them what their core values are. So you have this awesome exchange between you. So
this
that's
is a fundamental exercise you must do. Whether you are just starting your business, you're 10 years in, you've never done it, whether you have millions at the bank or you're a broke ass, you need to do this exercise. If you're multitasking, you can just DM me at ProjectME with Tiffany and I'll share the link with you. We know that no one ever goes to show notes. So
that's right.
That's not happening. And I want to make sure you guys have this. If you loved this episode and you really got a lot out of it, take a screenshot right now, share it on social media, tag me at ProjectME with Tiffany, tag Kareen at KareenZ like zebra, Walsh, WALSH. Also in my latest Instagram post, she'll be tagged. So that'll be an easy way for you guys to access her. But take a screenshot, share it, because you know that there's other people in your audience in your life that need to hear this message and these different techniques that were shared today. So pay it forward by taking a screenshot, sharing it. And then this way you can start connecting. It's also a form of networking, right? Now you just did an icebreaker where maybe it's not as awkward for you to reach out and DM Kareen or myself because you led with service by, sharing the show or something like that. You guys see what I'm saying? It was amazing having this conversation with you. You shared so much. I mean, I have to repeat two things that I wrote down in my crazy handwriting. If you are in it, you better own it. Boom. And then she has another thing that you discussed today that was amazing. But I only, you were like, don't say, but I only, change it to, of course. And I love both of these things because until we are aware, you have to be aware and then do the discipline of watching and listening what we think and what we say. And then you have to take it to the next level and actually tweak it. You're going to be surprised how often you say, like, I'm just a massage therapist. I just have an e-commerce store. Oh, I'm just a mom. I hate when I hear I'm just a mom. Like, just a mom? I go, That's like the hardest fucking job on earth. So we're going to remove it all.
Yeah, remove the word just from your vocabulary for sure. And the other thing I just want to add is squeeze that lemon.
Oh, yeah, I have that down too.
In every environment you're in, just ask yourself, have I squeezed the lemon enough? Or did I just, hit the beginning of all the juice that can come out of this?
And those of you who follow me on Instagram stories know, like, I'm obsessed with my lemon tree that has provided fruit. Now I'm an organic Los Angeles farmer. I'm going to start. I'm going to have kale and chicken soon. Not really.
I love it. Not really, but maybe. The farmer down the street.
Yeah. Now when I see my tree, I'm going to go, you know what, Tiff? Did you squeeze that lemon to its fullest? Did you scrape that damn pulp out of there for your day? That's a good for me. That's what I'm going to take away from this. Is that's going to be my daily accountable check-in with myself. I love it. I love you. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and your authenticity and sharing with all the people.
Thank you so much for having me. And I can't wait to be a part of your listeners' badass journey and also just support them in any way I can.
Bye, hon. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.